It's my pleasure to be your MC of today's workshop, which is organized by Cross-University Flipped Classroom Project. Collaborative universities include the Chinese University of Hong Kong, Hong Kong Baptist University, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, the Education University of Hong Kong, and City University of Hong Kong. Today's workshop is the last event of our Flipped Classroom workshop series. Last week, we are so honored to have two overseas scholars, Professor Hank from Germany and Professor Bennett from Australia, to share Flipped Classroom application in their disciplines. Today, we are happy to have our project leader, co-leaders, and project members to talk on the 5 strategic components towards effective Flipped Classroom. Professor Paul Lam, Associate Professor of the Center for Learning Enhancement and Research, is about to say a few words to officiate the opening of the event. Professor Lam, please.
Hi. So it's very nice. Someone has written this for me. Good afternoon, fellow teachers, and so many friends from all many institutions in Hong Kong and even schools, I heard. Okay, thank you for coming. It's a great pleasure to extend you all to a warm welcome on behalf of the project team Charlene has talked about. Without the hard work of our collaborative teams, this project and today's event will not be possible. Therefore, after thank you for the attendance today, I would like to thank the people behind the project. When I mention you, perhaps you can stand up and show your face. Okay. First of all, we have Mr. Tarloff Im and Ms. Angel Liu from City University. Crusher of CTU is on a trip somewhere, okay, either on work or not on work. Okay. So anyway, the CTU will talk about how to develop course materials, how to expose students with good learning, self-learning materials. And then we have Dr. Teresa Kwong and Dr. Isaac Chen from Hong Kong Baptist University. Okay. And they will talk about how to persuade students that Flipped Classroom is good, which is nearly impossible. So I look forward to your strategies. Okay. And then we have Professor Kevin Chen from PolyU. Okay. He'll talk about when you flip the classroom, what do you do? Now you don't need to teach that much in the class. What do you do in the classroom? What kind of activities, what kind of learning activities you can try? So he has a lot of very creative ideas to share. And then we have Dr. Dr. Zheng from Education University of Hong Kong. He's an evaluation expert, and he'll talk about how teachers can evaluate Flipped Classroom. So when they try something new, how can you tell it is a good try or not? Okay, he'll give you some strategies. And as for myself, I will have some time later this afternoon to talk about how to reconsider your assessments. If you have Flipped Classroom, do you still have your old examination, or you have to do something else? Okay. Before we begin, I would like to take this opportunity to show that we have a new project website, and which is going to come out. Okay. Yes. Okay. This is the project website we have managed to build in the last 2 months, and we will keep on expanding the website with more tips from all the universities we mentioned. Okay. So please come back from time to time to look at what kind of new ideas we have. And I would like to take a few minutes to show the video as well. The videos also show instead of me talking about it, the video will tell you why we have the project and the main objectives of the project.
In traditional classes, students are expected to listen to lectures during class and then do assignments to strengthen their understanding of the lectures after class. However, in a flipped class, students will be able to learn about a topic before class, usually through short and informative videos. While in class, they're expected to engage in activities with their peers and the instructor to apply the knowledge they learned and receive immediate feedback. This innovative teaching approach is regarded to have strong theoretical basis of learning enhancement. It is capable of incorporating new educational concepts such as personalized learning, peer learning, and learning through activities. The practice of the flipped classroom has spread to many classrooms in the West. However, it was only recently introduced to Hong Kong and still requires further development. Therefore, as a group of teachers, researchers, and educational developers from 5 universities in Hong Kong, we initiated this project to provide resources and support for teachers to practice flipped classroom. Each participating university will form its own internal team to support teachers' needs according to a framework consisting of 5 key components. Providing resources for first exposure of knowledge before class. Creating incentives to encourage students to prepare before class. Designing mechanisms to assess students' understanding. Planning in-class activities focusing on higher-level cognitive activities. Evaluating the effectiveness of teaching approaches. In this project website, you'll be able to find constructive strategies of the 5 key components, vivid examples from 5 universities, and useful practices and advice from overseas scholars and experts. So if you are a teacher wanting to start the journey of flipping class, this is the right place for you to find the resources you need. And please stay tuned for updates.
Okay, and that's the link of the URL of the website, the Free Class HK. So now it's time to begin the workshops today, and may I invite Mr. Tarloff and Angel to come up. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for the disturbance. Okay, my name is Tarloff from CPU. Well, actually, I'm working in Edge office. Maybe some of you know Edge office of CPU. Well, my role is education development officer. Right here we have Angel. She is the instructional designer for this flipped classroom project. Okay. Well, today we know that we love flipped classroom, right? Otherwise we won't be here. Okay. But well, what we can share actually is our experience in producing the teaching materials for the flipped classroom. So we hope that today we could share our experience to everyone, how or well, why we make such an approach to produce the flipped classroom material. Okay, maybe the first question is, if I say that we would like to use flipped classroom material, what kinds of material that you could prepare for that approach? Well, first one, activities, right? We can, you know, design some activities for the non-teaching environment, okay? So we can say play some games, okay? And then, but of course it's out of the classroom, okay? Next one, maybe it's some textbook, request them to read it before entering the classroom, okay? But we all know that it is not working very well, okay? The next one, maybe we can prepare some audio clip, okay? But do you think that any other better solutions? What we would like to introduce is a video clip. We love watching video, we love watching YouTube, right? But how can we produce like a YouTube link with lots of viewers? Well, actually, we are not asking you to be the blogger, right? We are not asking you to create a really interesting clip for the non-students, okay? But the point is how to make it be engaging them is our task, okay? So I suggest right here, I suggest everyone could prepare the video clip within 1 minute. Within 1 minute, it's really important because well, you say that you would like to extend a bit. Why don't you create another 1 minute clip so that you could have a clear mind how to convey your message, okay? Within 1 minute. Okay, next one, I'd like to share. Well, actually, we are working for the chemistry professor on a project about water monitoring. He told me that, well, there is a calibration process for their equipment. And we found that, well, on the YouTube actually do have a lot of video clips about, well, the salt oxygen meter calibration. Of course, for others equipment, they have others video clips. But if you go to that YouTube and type in the keyword, and then you will find lots of them. But you know, the video is just holding there without any movement, any highlight. Okay, so we hope that you could think about that. Well, if you are preparing some material in video format, you need to think about the storyline. What are you going to tell the important things? So, why we would like to, focus on that? Because we have some experience in MOOC project, and we find that educators are really focused on technical and pedagogical issues, but not storytelling techniques. But remember that if we would like to use the tools, what we call the free classroom teaching materials, to engage people, to engage the audience, you need to think about how to engage them. Okay, so this is important, and as well we could use the new technologies as well. What kind of new technologies? Well, for our case, for the chemistry professor, he just would like to do field trip for their students. But of course, lots of tedious administrative works to arrange for a bunch of students. So can we make use the virtual reality technologies? Yes, of course. So that's why we just use VR for that project. But in general, we hope that the 6 steps in this UGC project, we would like to share. In general, we conclude that the 6 steps is really important for everyone to prepare the video materials. Okay, so maybe the first step is a little bit hard if you have no idea what's going on, what kind of topics or subtopics that you could do the flipped activities. Okay, but it is in sequence. So I suppose that step 1 is a design process, and then define the instructional video, which part is important, which part is going to highlight and convey that kind of message to the students, and begin a pre-production. Everyone, please take a look at that pre-production, because everyone just go and shoot the video without considering that part. Okay, it is not a good habit, and it is highly recommended that everyone should think about the pre-production part. Okay, and then shoot the video, and of course we have post-production as well. And last, we can deliver to them. And of course, the second part, maybe the second topic of this workshop is the interesting part as well, because how to provide initiatives to them, persuade them to watch the video. Okay, and if you have no idea, I suggest that you can just skip that part. Okay, just think about which topic or which materials that you like to do the flipped classroom approach, and define some instructional video, and then to think about how to make the pre-production process. Okay, this is our approach. So I hope that, well, just skip that one, and then if you have some kinds of materials prepared for the teaching materials, like the flipped classroom in video format, then you will have an idea how to design the whole class material. Okay? So next one, that's the project that I mentioned, is the virtual reality water quality monitoring project. Okay? We suggest the students go to the Fengyuan in Taipo, butterfly, lots of butterflies living there. Okay, so that's why I hope that take a look on that. Yes, next one. As I suggest, we do the step 2 first, because the professor has no idea how to convert their materials into video format. So I just hope that everyone could take a look on that PowerPoint slide, because, well, we experience such situation, and we find that it's not easy to create a storyboard for shooting, because the professor has no idea on that. Okay, why don't we do a trial shooting to record down the whole process, and then the production team could understand more a bit on what's going on, and then to prepare again for the real shooting. Okay, so this is a video for the trial shooting. You find that it's a shaky hand movement, because this is a calibration process for the turbidity meter. We have different kinds of concentration solutions to do the calibration. So after the professor did the things, and then we understand that the whole process. Okay, because if you ask him to tell you the whole process, maybe he will pass you just a manual. Okay, but you need to know what's going on. Okay, so the next one is we have another one. It's a final version. Okay, you see the difference, right? Just the trial version is not good at all, right? But we know the whole process, what is the importance message. We need to highlight different kind of concentration of the solutions, and then we need to also be aware of the markers on the bottom, so we understand the whole process and then go ahead to do the pre-production to prepare the whole storyboard and then to take the video shooting. Okay, so next part, well, we hope that everyone know the importance of pre-production, but of course we would like to share our whole idea for the 6 steps. Okay, we'll pass it to Angel to explain to everyone.
Thank you very much, Tarloff, for sharing, the difficulties of shooting a pre-class video material that is to be carried out for a flipped classroom. And you can notice that there are major differences. For example, shaky hands and not stable recording. So it's really important to have a storyboard. And we actually, City University of Hong Kong has developed a learning material archive that shows the important 6 steps for preparing a pre-class video material. And we would like to present this on our on our desktop. But the voice may have some technical problem.
Assisting online videos for educational purposes to enhance one's perception of the expectation of learners nowadays. The investment of time and money will strongly influence the quality of any video produced. From the sample videos, there are some best practices we would like to share. Key concepts are usually delivered in 10 minutes with synchronized subtitles to enhance accessibility and support specific cognitive learning outcomes. It is always important to plan the whole process before any video production. The usual practice is to write a video script and draw a storyboard to visualize how you want your video to look. Next, make sure the video supports intended learning outcomes. Then, source for graphics and images for the elaboration of the learning materials with proper instructional design. Don't forget to check and confirm the guidelines of using the university logos. Prepare a handheld signage to notify people around the shooting area to avoid or minimize disturbance. For indoor shooting, at least 2 LED lightings should be set up for 2-point lighting. Then, use 2 digital cameras for the video shooting process. Make sure there are enough batteries and storage media cards with adequate writing speed and storage volume. Use a proper sized tripod and a fluid tripod video head for stabilized shooting. Next, follow the storyboard or storytelling structure as a checklist for shooting footage. Do a trial run of shooting with scripts for rehearsal and monitor your audio level with headphones while shooting to avoid unwanted sound disturbance. To play safe, copy all the footage to 2 separate storage devices before editing. You are almost ready for the final step in production. Edit a rough cut version for a review and include visual elements to effectively promote learning. It would be nice to include transition effects. Record voice-over if necessary, only when all picture edit is locked off as 100% complete. Then, include appropriate background music with appropriate audio levels for different scenes. Try to make each video a self-contained learning resource and eliminate any unnecessary information. Ensure your students receive a positive reception of your innovation by explaining the relevance of the video and limiting the maximum length of each video to 10 minutes. Reconfirm all the facts and figures before the launch and inform students of any discrepancy. Now, you are good to go. Congratulations.
Sorry about the buzzing sound. Well, we hope this video has actually helped shed some light on how to resources and preparation time it takes for you to make the video with good content. Our learning materials development archive will be presented online for the benefit of the public. And for better illustrations, we will have 7 short animation clips to be produced and presented very soon in the future. And we hope to share with you all about the steps and the best practices of developing instructional video-based learning materials for pre-class learning. Aligned with our UGC project, City University of Hong Kong has flipped several courses ranging from the gateway education study of societies to academic courses. And it is exciting to even see that several courses are pioneering the application of virtual reality, along with follow-up activities online and offline to bridge the gap between pre-class and in-class learning. With the advancement of mobile gadgets, more flipped classroom showcases are expected to come. And if you're interested to make video-based learning materials as pre-class activities or to bring flipping concepts to your class, please join our Q&A section in the following time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarloff and Angel. Now we have time for a couple of questions from the floor. Anyone have questions?
Yes.
Sorry, could you just tell us again which courses have been...
Sorry.
Hello, thank you for that workshop, it was very informative. I just wanted to hear again the courses at CU that you have been developing into flipped or having flipped modules. I didn't catch that you mentioned a couple of courses.
We have a gateway education study of societies, and we have an academic course called the Environmental Impact Assessment, and we have another course which is to do with BST science, building surface technology. And actually the Environmental Impact Assessment course is implemented with the application of virtual reality as well as flipping the class. So we're very excited to see that happening. And if you really want, we can show you a preview of that if you want.
Yes, right.
And it's got like quizzes in that virtual reality scene.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. So that's the front page, and then inside here, if you have your mobile device or with your cruiser here, you can swap around and then click on any of the clips of the hotspot, and then it will show you a clip of something similar that we just demonstrated for one of our courses.
Lots of hotspots. Actually, we have lots of hotspots on the virtual reality environment, and of course we won't stop the students going out to visit the exact value, but well, they can just appreciate what they are going to have in the value. So that's why we use virtual reality technologies to help.
This is actually a very interesting course because it's an SSI site, which is reserved as a special scientific interest site that preserves a lot of rare species of butterflies and insects. And if you finish up the quiz after watching all these hotspots,
Sorry, I got wrong.
you will be moved to scene 2. So I can just quickly.
Yeah. We force them to try the quiz, at least they know what they're going to know about. So before walking out to the lab, so we prepare the quiz, and then Angel know the answers, and then we go out. Yeah, that's the Fengyun area. Okay, the entrance of that area. Okay. Because the professor mentioned that the water quality is really important for the butterfly, ecosystems. Okay.
So you get the idea. Any other questions?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to ask from those I've seen, your teachers seems to be very well supported by your team. How about for fifth classroom? There are a lot of teachers who actually do it all by themselves. will you have advice for these one-man band? They can't set up 2 LED lights.
The budget for the 2 LEDs should be fair enough. But I know what you mean because lots of teachers worry about doing extra not their professional field works, but we in CTU we totally support with several teams. So if Professor right here, Hong Yi, he is one of the wood courses. He has one of the wood courses, and do you have difficulties without our support? I think there are projects to handle it. In other sense, they can find outsiders to help. But in general, I think it's quite easy to do if you like to do it, and then understand what our 6 steps suggest you to read about. Then you could handle it by yourself. Of course, we are really welcome for everyone to have communication with us. And if you need help, we do wish to do assistance for everyone. Yeah. Yes.
Hi.
I got the mic.
Thank you. This video looks really interesting. What software did you use? So I'm a teacher. Could I just make this, take the video, and then add these hotspots and put in the questions? Can I do that myself? Or is it too difficult for someone like me?
Not too difficult, but a little bit knowledge about the technology. So we have tips right here. If you are a teacher of CTU, of course you could find us. Yeah. But if you are not, if you are the teachers of other universities, we can have a talk and share. We have a coffee time, right? Okay.
Actually, I'm an IT officer.
She is the producer.
Yeah, I'm the producer of the videos you watch in their talk, and then actually there is many technical support in CTU actually. So if you have any problem, you can just ask us.
Thank you, Kayla. Thank you. So if you need help at CTU, make sure you recognize Kayla. Thank you.
Sorry, for the follow-up question on that, is there any user-friendly or like a very beginning level of the software or apps that we can have a trial on that?
Yes, of course. I think I just highlight the most important part of the whole idea, because pre-production is really important for everyone to do video clip, video format materials. So I don't think that the technical part is really hard to do if you have time to try it, because lots of user-friendly websites, even the animation right at the last part we share actually is produced by the website. But you need to have a good storytelling techniques to make sure that what we are going to convey the message. So this is the hardest part. I really hope that everyone not be freaking out by the technology part. Okay. Give us an email, we can share.
There are some free applications online. We're using Powtoon for the PowerPoint slides there, and for this software it's called Panel Tour. But I guess time is running out because the MC is asking us to pass on the stage.
Would like to stop us. No, sorry. We'd like to pass it to the second part. Yeah, we can have a discussion later on. Yeah.
Thank you, Tarloff and Angel.
Thank you.
The next section is about providing incentives to students to engage in flipped classroom. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Teresa Kwong and Dr. Isaac Chen from BU.
Thank you, Charlene. While my colleague Isaac is preparing for the PowerPoint, maybe I can address the question from the lady over there. I forgot. Yes. Actually, I used Camtasia, and my colleague used Final Cut. Both are quite user-friendly, but only 1 month free license. So, but if you would like, if after trial you find it like useful, then you might want to invest a little bit, right, to prepare for the video for your for much better, easier life. Okay, when preparing the video. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Teresa from the Center for Holistic Teaching and Learning, Hong Kong Baptist University. Here's my colleague, Dr. Isaac Chen. Dr. Vincent Learn is a lecturer from the Department of Marketing, and he is currently teaching the strategic marketing course right now at BU, so he cannot join us today. But I will represent him to showcase a little bit of his work as well. All right. I guess you might want to learn a little bit of flipped classroom. I just get some information. I guess different people have different definition of flipped classroom. But for us at HKBU, we define flipped classroom as an educational model in which the standard lecture and homework elements of a course are reversed or flipped. So that means all the content materials, students can read it at home before class, and then during class time, you do activities to help your students prepare or work on their assignments. So this is a kind of flip, and I adopted myself in the last semester as well. And it provides an opportunity for students to study the course-related materials at their own pace and schedules prior to the actual class commencement. This is important, and that's the reason why Paul said that it's something impossible to ask our students, especially our Hong Kong students, to do pre-class readings or pre-class learning before class, right? It is so hard, but I have some sort of experience because I need to adopt it myself first before I can tell my colleagues what to do to engage the students to let them have their buy-in for this flipped classroom. But we need to, first of all, know the background of our students. In Hong Kong, even though we encourage teachers, in high school or secondary school or in primary school, we have a lot of in-class activities, like using technology or low-tech using pen and pencil, paper and pencil. But still, flipping classrooms is a kind of a new terminology. And in the past, still currently existing, the students are actually taught in the classroom setting, even with this kind of table, more one way, a bit of discussion, but still many of the contents are delivered during class time. And this is kind of a traditional mode of learning. The experience makes them feel that if I ask them to do something outside classroom before class, it is so difficult because it will add onto their workload. They refuse to do that, and they found that this unsettledness of classroom during group discussions and problem solving. They don't know how to concentrate the discussion. The topic seems to be to them that it was so diverse. I don't know where to start, what to focus, and what outcome that should I have, after the discussion. So that's the reason why this is so important for the teachers to make everything clear to the students. And we would like to, of course, the first incentive for the students is to give some points, certain points. I guess, I'm not sure whether you have assigned any participation marks. Any one of you give participation marks to your students? Not many. Oh, okay. Yes, few more hands. Yes. In fact, in the past, when I taught a course in 2010, I only give 10% participation mark. it seems too low because that part is only for in-class activities. But then I add on a bit of like online material, and then I found, oh, like maybe I need to add like 20 points, and then last semester I add to 30 points. It's like, oh, you will see the big difference. But then, of course, you need to have an alignment between your course materials, I mean online materials or pre-class work with your in-class activities. This I will talk about it in detail later on. And then enhance student participation in pre-class activities by using polls to get a brief overview of the student's opinion. Like the first thing, after they have done the pre-class readings or videos or online materials, during the class time, the first thing I usually do is to do a poll, like anonymously, using like uReply, Clickers, Kahoot. You know, I have different sorts of like activities for my students to check their understanding, and they will find that, oh right, I am not quite familiar with certain concepts. Then they will feel like, oh, my classmates, at least a few of the students will have some idea of what is going on in the pre-class reading, and they will answer like correctly, give the correct answer. So the other like students that are not that hardworking, they feel that, oh, they need to do some more in the next class, because this is a kind of pattern that I do. They will know that, oh, I will somehow have some at least reward, like give them a folder, sometimes a drink, you know, just to give a bit of incentive for them as well. And then telling students that they will have chance to determine some of the questions that they will appear on their final exam. This is not for my class, it's for Vincent's class, because those pre-class reading or in the discussion, they will have time that to maybe generate some of the questions for the final exam. This is a kind of good thing for the students. Oh yes, I can design my own questions. You know, it's actually very hard. And giving feedback to students' comment online. This is like what my students commented on my last semester's work. My students participate a lot in the online pre-class readings or online materials, but they complained a little bit, not complain, they suggest, they love that online sport, the small perfect online course. But then they found it difficult if they would like to ask some more questions. They would like to get more feedback from the peers as well as from the teacher. So this semester, I rerun the course and I give a lot of feedback to my students. They are so energetic and feel very good that to see my response to them as well. But we need to let them know that the benefits for them as students. We need to communicate with the students at the very beginning, at the onset of the course. And let them know that the students will be able to pause and rewind the teacher in the online teaching materials. You know, when I was a student, I always thought, can I pause the teacher? Because I do not have enough time to write down what I want to write on my notes. You know, can I pause it? Oh, it will be good if I can rewind my teacher, what he or she said just now in a minute ago, I forgot, you know, it's kind of like you can pause and rewind, this is good, right? And able to learn at their own pace and schedule, and in a more interactive classroom, because during the online course, it's not just an online course or a video, it's like we build in some different activities like discussion, like quiz, like survey, you know, all sorts of like different activities within the online course. And even they will know that the teachers will have more time to help students since there is no didactic lecturing. I use almost 2/3 of my class time to discuss with my students. I walked around in different tables, asked them whether you have any problem, do you want to ask me questions? At the very beginning, they might not be able, they will feel shy. But then later on, after like 2 or 3 times, they found it, oh, actually they love to ask me questions. And I need to jump around, you know, very quickly, 1 table, 2 tables, 3 tables. I usually have 10 tables. So of course, you need to make sure that the classroom setting is good enough for you to do this kind of like activity as well. And then teachers will know students better due to enriched student-teacher interaction. Yes, I do establish a very good rapport with my students, and they enjoy to talk with me even after class. And also, we would like to talk about not the students need the incentive. The teachers also need the incentive to adopt the flipped classroom approach. Because what is the benefit? It supports students in better understanding the concept through practical application. In fact, this is a kind of based on the constructivism theory, the learning theory. Because students construct their own knowledge during the in-class discussion. So I'm a strong believer of constructivism. So that's the reason why I love to adopt this flipped classroom approach. And then once the online lecture is done, it can be reused as many times as the teacher wants. This is like the first time you need to put a lot of effort. You need to put a lot of time. Just now, Tarloff and Angel talk about the video production. It takes time, you know. I need to take 1, take 2, take 3. You know, my colleague said, I think take 2 is the best. Don't worry. Continuing the video shooting might not be good for you. You know, it's kind of I don't get used to speak in front of the camera. You know, so this is like something you need to invest the time the first time. Okay, more freedom for teachers to decide upon how much time to spend with each student in class. Yes, of course, I slot like 2/3 of my time during in class to do in-class activities, but of course you can use like half time or 1/3. Okay. What trick for myself? I do not like we have like 13 to 14 weeks of teaching, but I only like have 3 to 4 lessons that are flipped. Not all, because if it is like not feasible to have every single class to flip. So let's be honest to ourselves, and let's make it possible, make the impossible possible, to just flip like several classes that you think that this is most important. The concept is so abstract that you need your students to construct the knowledge together. So this is like important as well. And offer transparency for students and parents. So at HKBU, for my course, and for a course like taught by another colleague that's in the science discipline, I don't want to disclose the discipline because this is last semester we only have offered 2 SPOC courses. I mean the small private online courses. So one is my course, one is another course in the undergraduate discipline, science discipline. We have like in the science discipline we have around 77% of students accessed to at least one section or one activity within 3 weeks online material. And for the research postgraduate teaching university students course, we have 88% of students access to at least one section, but we have almost 78% of students take part in the discussion. But for the undergraduate course, no one bothered to take part in the discussion. Why? Because the undergraduate course, the linkage between the online material with the in-class activities is actually completely separate. This is actually kind of like really additional to the in-class teaching materials or activities. So students found it really adding their workload, and they don't want to take part in the discussion in the online course. But for the research postgraduate course, we deliberately make a link between the online material with the in-class activities. So this is a very important. Without any alignment, then like just now Tarloff said that in step 2, you need to align to the learning outcome, if I remember correctly. This is important. You need to align the online or the video content with your learning outcome, or else students will not be motivated to do that. And then, and this is a kind of like participation rubric that we would like to, we were using last semester to like give them marks for their participation. And I will share the PowerPoint with you later on. And this is a showcase of Vincent's class. I just want to show you the video. It's like he makes use, he aligns. Continue.
It definitely helps when you like kind of bringing the two group of people like together, because it really facilitates the exchange of ideas. This thing itself is like a really good initiative. It's just like in the beginning it was a little bit hard for us to adapt, but in the long run it would definitely like be a great asset to the course.
For me, it's really an enhancement. I'm more efficient in learning because you get many different views on one detail, and therefore you then understand it better, because some people approach it a different way, and maybe this way is better for you to understand the question or this specific object or strategy. Because sometimes the teacher maybe teaches you one way, but you won't really understand it, and you need to do a lot of research. But maybe if you can get it from another way, or from classmates from far away, then for me it's easier to understand certain concepts. So yeah, definitely.
This is a joint classroom. In fact, Vincent asked his students to read everything before this class is a strategic marketing course. And the incentive is he link up with a university in Singapore and then make a joint class at the same time using like online, like Skype or Panopto, I forgot. And then the students in Hong Kong interact with the students from Singapore. So this is another incentive, because the students love to talk with students from outside Hong Kong. So this is another incentive, this is another approach to adopt the flipped classroom as well. So this is another showcase. And to conclude, is like incentives are the pull factor to motivate students. You need to give some incentive for the students, and correlated with outcomes of teaching and learning activities, and interrelated with other 4 elements that just now you heard about the exposure. We will talk about the assessment and activities, and then the evaluation part, and we are the incentives part. But before I end, I need to promote a little bit about the competition upcoming. I will let you know more information later on, but just briefly. We would like to ask the students to form teams of 2 to 5 to design or to create flipped classroom promotional trailer to promote the buy-in of the students. How to promote it to the other students to get their buy-in to this flipped classroom approach. And we will use the uReply chat share platform to let them discuss their idea. And then the video trailer should be like less than 2 minutes, and either they upload the file or the YouTube link to us is fine. And the prizes, the champion is 5,000 Hong Kong dollars. First runner-up 3,000, and the second runner-up is 2,000. And the assessment, we will base on different criteria like idea with development and video, like the clarity of the video, the production values, etc., etc. And I will share you more information later on. We will start recruiting like the teams. next week, and then the registration will last until the end of this month, and the video submission end of May. Okay, and the release of results in late June, and the presentation ceremony in August. For more information, you can access the Flip Classroom website. We have the news and event part, and I will also share with you some e-flyer, e-poster to all of you later on to recruit more teams. So this is the references that I used. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa and Isaac. Does anyone have any questions to ask them? Okay, if no, in the coming session, Professor Paul Lam will explain why we need to reconsider assessment in a flipped course and how to do it. Professor Paul Lam, please.
Hi. So yes, I'm Paul Lam, and I'm going to talk about some preliminary ideas on assessment. Okay. Because it's preliminary, because it's still quite conceptual. I would say I haven't really got any practical tips or practical solutions for assessment yet. So, okay, thank you. So I'll talk about some thinking behind flipped classroom assessment. So Teresa has talked about how to motivate students, and her part is mainly concentrating on the benefits, right? Persuade, they hope one day, right, we can persuade students that flipped classroom is doing you good, right? Hope that students one day will buy in, right? It's sort of internal, intrinsic motivation, right? They buy it, they think it is useful. But assessment can be another form of motivation. I think you all agree is the extrinsic motivation. Is the integrated framework we use in Chinese University in Hong Kong. Is every teachers in Chinese knows it, because it tells all teachers how to design their course. It's a course design framework. It's outcome based, and I like to show it to you because here I hope it works. No, it doesn't work. Okay, but it's shut up. Yes, maybe it works this way, right? Right? Left and right, yes, but it's only control to up and down. And where's the pointer? Yes. Oh, I missed the biggest button actually is the pointer. Okay, right. Assessment is a central point in our framework. As you see, we always emphasize assessment should align with all other parts of your curriculum, otherwise students will not do it, simply. Right? If you ask students to do a lot, but your assessment do not weigh you what they have, what their effort in the other areas, they will just ignore. Okay, therefore, that's why my part is to rethink. So if we are doing flipped classroom, what should we do with our exam, with our marks, right? But I think it's not as important as Teresa's work. Of course, if they buy in, if they really believe it, that is better. If they do not believe it, at least you give them another motivation. Okay, so assessment should align with flipped classroom. That's my idea. Is you can tell me if I'm wrong. I think this open discussion is good. And then this slide shows, I would say, assessment, the traditional assessment does not align with flipped classroom very well. Can you imagine, so if you keep on doing the same, you have midterm or final, and then in the midterm you ask whether they understand, in the final you check whether they understand. Will they do the flipped classroom in the way you like it? I don't think so, because you are here, it says the learning process, because in the flipped classroom you are asking them to do a lot more on the learning process. They have to read a lot more books, view the videos, do a lot more quizzes. If you tell them they do not carry any marks, all I will do is to give you an exam at the end. They will take risks. I can tell you, they will take risks because they feel confident. They have been taking exam all their life. They know they can easily pass the exam, right? They will not do your difficult, time-consuming learning process because they feel they can take the risk, right? That's why I think part one is to once again, sorry. So one important part for flipped classroom assessment is to try to value, give marks to the learning process. And then another big area is the learning outcome. Another big area is for the exam, apart from learning process, the learning product. For flipped classroom, because after listening to all the other presentations, I know in flipped classroom you are able to do more. Students have the benefits of learning more than textbook, more than videos, because in the classroom they discuss. Okay, therefore, I would say for the learning product in the exam, you should also aim at higher. Okay, so in other words, your examination paper can be more challenging than the traditional ones. Otherwise, they don't see the value. That's our ideas. Okay, so let's look at the two parts a bit more closely. Learning process, I would say, since there are a lot of videos and quizzes, students might be asked to do online discussion. These can carry marks, but I also think it is very difficult. Right? Technology may help a bit. Otherwise, it's so difficult to monitor whether they have done things at home. Okay, so I think use technology. For example, here is the Blackboard interface. The problem in this project is that our different universities use different platforms. Okay, so it's very difficult to get examples that suit everybody. Blackboard, for example, you have quizzes. You can set a lot of online quizzes, and then this screen shows you can tell, for example, whether this student has attempted the quiz once or twice, or even 3 times. Here that he attempted it 3 times, etc. And then what are the scores in each round? Okay, of course. So there might be similar functions in Canvas. CTU use Canvas. Poly you use Blackboard. Who use Moodle? Hong Kong you use Moodle. Yeah, you use Moodle. So this one is a Moodle platform. Moodle platform, you can, for the video viewing, of course, you can check whether the video or files has been assessed by the students. In this example, they haven't been assessed. So none of them has looked at the videos. Okay, so the technology can help you monitor students learning at home a bit. But you have to know how to find the numbers, how to find them. Here is a very interesting project. It's called SNAP. I think it's SNAPP. Okay, so some people has been trying to give to understand discussions, right? for example, here it analyzes in the forum who says the most things and who and the connections between the students. For example, here Nicole seems to be the central guy, right? She said a lot of things. That's why her circle is bigger. She said many things. And then you can also see whenever she says something, a lot of people respond to her. So you a lot of arrows, right, going towards her. So she certainly is something important in the forum. And then other than Nicole, this guy seems to be quite important too, because Nicole and this guy talks a lot to and fro, right? Okay, anyway, so this discussion this kind of the learning process such as discussion can also be monitored in some way and then help you give marks, weighing students' contribution. Instead of counting how many words they have put down in the forum, which is not accurate at all, there may be other more clever ways for you to judge students' contributions. Anyway, however, I think it is now not yet good enough, right? Even for the Blackboard, for the Moodle things I show you, I would say they are still very difficult. It's not easy to, for example, if you set many quizzes, you have to individually set the ending time of each quiz. Very time consuming. Imagine you have a flipped class. You have 2 quizzes a week, 3 quizzes a week. You have to control the ending point, starting point of each quiz. And then you have to monitor students' performance in each quiz and then combine them. I don't think there are a very automated process yet in all systems. Timeliness, therefore, is a big problem because you want to see whether they have viewed the videos before going to class. That means you can't look at the video logs only at the end of the course. You have to look at the video logs, whether they have viewed the video every week, right? Because at the end of the whole course, there's some people not viewing the videos early enough, you can't tell because the numbers are accumulating. So right now the system may not be doing so well for flipped classroom yet. It's still a lot of effort. Video viewing, you don't know whether they have opened the link and then go to toilet or not. Activities in the class, right? Because flipped classroom also concentrate on not only self-learning. Classroom activities are important. How can you keep a good record of students' performance in the class and then combine them together? You have to weigh students' classroom contributions as well. Okay, team-based, a lot of teamwork, and all these systems do not have team marks, right? It seems that you have to ask them to do work individually. Otherwise, you can't allocate individual marks, right? Anyway, this is my initial belief, the initial ideas. What we are going to do is to, I think, in the following years, get some more tips how to use Blackboard, Canvas, and Moodle more intelligently. So that you can flip with ease. Okay. And we are going to do some minor scale development ourselves as well. You know, I like the developments. I'll see whether I can develop things that can help you assess flipped classroom. But it will be future, perhaps in the next year. So please continue to see our updates. And then we have here. As I said, the learning outcomes, the learning product, you should aim higher now because flipped classroom students are able to learn better. Don't ask textbook things. Some ideas, for example, here. One second, third time. Okay. Divergent, convergent questions. We would suggest in examinations, you don't ask convergent questions. Convergent questions are like this one. You ask, there is only usually one model answer. Okay, convergent. Okay, Divergent is questions that allows multiple possible answers, and some even one question allows even more questions. Okay. Convergent question usually begins with when, what, how. Okay, ask you facts. Divergent questions usually begins with what if, right? What happened if? Okay, imagine something new. So that's one way for you to you consider flipped classroom examinations. Is this concept. The other concept is the solo taxonomy. Have you heard of that before? Okay, structural observed learning outcomes. So it says if you want, very simply, if you want students to be able to surprise you, right? You do not expect something standard. You want your students to surprise you with their brilliant new ideas. You should ask questions that with, okay, this is silly, okay. Okay, here. You should ask, these verbs may help you. Questions not beginning with what, how, why, but you can have questions that with the verbs like design, hypothesize, create, right? If you have these in your question, exam questions, students will give you more. And they will see the way why they learn in the flipped classroom way. Because the flipped classroom has been, you have been training them to do this, create, sit together with your project, create, analyze, what else? Design, right? Sit together in the classroom, you ask them to design, and in the exam you ask them to design, they find it aligned. And then another thing to consider, okay, the Bloom's taxonomy, I think you all know, is the same, a very similar idea. In the exam, you ask them to create, evaluate, analyze. Okay, give them difficult problems. So I would say examination is no longer essay. Right? You can try case. You can even have team projects in exam. You can ask students to define their own topics. Right? It may not be the teacher's topic. There may be a few topics to choose, or students pick their own topics. I know a teacher who even try internet. So in the examination hall, students bring their own computer. They are free to use internet because that's what flipped classroom has been about. They can have all the information they want. But in the exam paper, it's more than finding information. They have to really understand and then use the information. That's why students are allowed to bring their computer. They are allowed to even take books. They are allowed to go online. Things like this can be attempted in the flipped classroom exam. We have other things. For flipped classroom exam, there might be other considerations like transparency. You need to tell students what are marked, what are graded, what are valued as early as possible. Make your examination very transparent. And then they will start doing it. Another concept is assessment for learning. So assessment is not only giving marks, it's also about helping students to understand they are lacking behind. Okay, this kind of learning process marks, learning outcome marks should be given to students as early as possible, not only at the end in the final report. It's formative as well as summative. Lastly, push and pull. As Teresa talked about, right? She has been focusing on the pull part, attract students. Assessment seems to be pushing, right? But I would say assessment can be pulling sometimes as well. But so far, if what you think about assessment is students have to do some basics, otherwise I will punish you. That is pushing, not attractive enough, right? If it's all about punishment, you have to do it before some date, otherwise you don't have the mark. It's negative. But we can also try pooling factors. So how about you compete for the earliest, who view the videos earlier than all others will have a badge. We'll have something interesting. We'll have, okay? So you can also think about pooling factor in assessment as well, even though it's I won't. It's just a beginning discussion. Okay, we might have more tips later on. That's it. Sorry, it should be more than 20 minutes already. Okay, any questions?
Any questions for Professor Lam?
Professor, I don't know if you've come across some software called Perusals from Harvard. I must stress I haven't used it, but it looks pretty good because it's you post your text in the online, and then it's got space for student discussion. But it claims to be able to rate the student discussion. I'm a little bit skeptical myself, but
not like the networking idea. How do they rate it?
well, I presume, yeah, that's a good question, and I haven't read up on that. I presume that they're looking at things like infrequent words, and you know, they claim to have used an AI process to compare. Is that right? Somebody knows more about it? No, they claim to have used an AI process to compare comments rated by teachers with in a database with to find out which was rated highly, and then the computer can make the same sort of judgment. But I don't know more than that. But if it is from Harvard, you'd expect it to be reasonable.
This is from Eric Mazur's one, right?
Sorry?
Is it from Eric Mazur?
No, I don't think so.
Well, since Paul is my good friend and he is in my house, I will shield this question on his behalf. Actually, our class is using Perusal. Actually, we flipped our class last week, and before we flipped, we coerced our students into doing the class reading with Perusal, with the annotations. And for the flipped units, we assign 1% on the Perusal annotations alone. So they will contribute at least 2 high-quality annotations, which is to be determined by the AI system that is of high quality, that is not a, yeah, I know, good point, those are crap. So the AI will filter those out. And we've been doing it for the 3rd time right now. We learned the hard way that it is imperative that you repeatedly bombard them with notices and reminders. And we can go up to around 40 to 50% of the class actually doing high quality annotations before coming to the classes. And we put the tricks suggested by Teresa. We start the fifth class with a mini quiz on course content, so to fresh them up and to make them ashamed of themselves that how unprepared they are when they come into the class. So hopefully the next time around, guilt alone, okay, would propel them to prepare a little bit better when they step into the classroom for the activities.
Anyway, thank you for the information. That's exactly what we need. I think we are going to, as I said, we need to gather many e-tools that is good for free classroom. Right now, I only look at the major LMS such as Blackboard, Canvas, and I don't think they are easy enough, especially in the free classroom situation. There are a lot of settings, and you have to check all the records in time. Otherwise, you won't have to type the timeliness aspect. Okay. Anyway, but that's something we need to. If you have other systems you want to suggest, email me. I will include them in the website and for the benefits of others.
Well, I'm glad that so late in the afternoon, with only paperback soft drinks and Chips Ahoy enough to keep you good people here in the room. So big thanks to all of you, and a big applause to Charlene too. Is this the first time that you're doing MC for us? Okay. For a first performance, not bad, eh? Paul should be proud. By the way, Charlene and Carmen, they all work for the Flipped Classroom projects, okay? If you have yet to know them.
Then we have 3 C's.
Yes.
Carmen and Cherry. Yes, 3 C's. Okay. So back to our presentation. The QuarterU team is involved more in the activity part of flipped classroom. So here's the rundown of the presentation. We'll try to share with you some overarching frameworks of understanding the flipped classroom activities in terms of models, and then we'll move on to share with you some more daring or exciting examples of activities that you could consider introducing in your class. So first, let's revert back to 10 minutes ago before the break when Paul was mentioning about motivation. Okay? In fact, the flipped classroom models comprise not only intrinsic motivations in which students feel better about the enjoyment of the learning task itself, but also involved other extrinsic motivations when you're prescribing the right incentive as presented by Teresa, or in terms of the assessments that are more related to the flipped classroom approach. Okay? So basically, if we try to consider the entire magic of flipped classrooms, we could try to conceive or conceptualize this into a set of activities that hopefully will end up with a better sense of competence, better sense of relatedness to the learning material at hand for mastery, better sense of autonomy in the learning process itself that is tailored to expertise areas, and more importantly, learning becomes more ubiquitous since it affords self-pacing. That would eventually and hopefully lead to a better extrinsic motivation in the learning process as being incentivized by the assessment schemes or other types of incentive related to flipped classrooms. For instance, some of my friends and Fred Ting, he gives out candies in his class when they get the right questions from Kahoot. It's an old trick, but it works wonderfully. Increasing intrinsic motivation. Hopefully, the learners will be more engaged in what they really want to learn. And psychologists are also more interested in better management of cognitive load. But if we get into cognitive load or get into the pool side as prescribed by Paul, if we dig deeper into prospect theory and how framing can help and facilitate flipped classroom, we won't be leaving here until 9 this evening. So I'll skip that for today and focus on the activities. So in terms of implementing flipped classrooms, I believe there are 2 major classes of activities. Our colleagues from the team has done a very good job in outlining most, if not all, of the out-of-classrooms part of flipped classroom in the direct computer-based self-instructions, while we may want to focus more on the interactive group learning activities in class. So when we conceive the effect of flipped classroom, is always an equation, a sum of both the in-class or the student-centered learning and the teacher-centered learning, and with combination of these 2 potent components in the right sequence, we have the flipped classroom. And specifically on the student-centered learning, apart from plain good old discussions in a room, we can also consider other avenues, including many types of active learning strategies, or peer-assisted learning, cooperative learning, tasks that focuses on problem-solving skills, or peer tutoring.
we'll get into some of the more specific examples. Okay. But before that, may I get some initial feedback from you on your take? So what would be some of the advantages of using team-based learning assessment in the flipped classroom context? Okay. I hope that George is not around, right? He is around. Okay. So So this is the question right here. Okay. For the participants, okay, it is imperative that we are using the Chinese U account, so all the guests can participate. But Goodfellas in Chinese U always reminds me that QR code for U reply only applies in PolyU, not in Chinese U.
Because our projector, the screen is small. You are lucky, you have big screen.
Okay, so for PolyU users familiar with uReply, unfortunately you have to use the link, or you can use the mobile app from the iOS App Store or the Android Google Play Store. Okay, and the session ID is 13301. The URL is ureply.mobile. Should work without the HTTP, I guess. Better make it work because the founder of uReply is in the house. How many participants we have today, around? 40. Okay. I guess if we have 25 right here, let's aim at 28, seeking 28 complete responses. So back to the question. So from your perspective, what would be the main advantage of team-based learning? Would that be improving students' engagement, facilitating students' interaction, helping the students to understand the content material or mastery of the content material, or make the class more interesting? We'll try to call it a quit at 28 so we can get a glimpse of your responses without eating too much into our presentation. So we have the magic number. Okay. For those who didn't make it in time, I'm sorry. Okay. So it appears to me that the prominent response to this question, your impression is that team-based learning or team-based learning activities is more profoundly linked or related to facilitating students' interaction from your perspective. And none of you would consider the fun factor, okay, which you will regret because we will stress that in the later part of this presentation. Okay. So let's get back to the presentation. Okay, we promise you we will try to share with you some activities that you can pull, some tricks that you can pull in your classes. And in fact, although the PolyU team is committed to contribute on in-class activities, okay, that is considered in temporal sequence, the in-class stage of flipped classroom. Okay. We are so kind to Paul that we would also pitch in some activities that you can do before the class and after the class. So this is the standard provision, and the other two are the bonuses.
Buy one, get three.
Yes, buy one, get three. So pre-class activities, okay, in flipping the class, most of the time we would ignore that flipped classroom activities or learning can take place before, during, and after the class. Okay, and I believe consensus has it that the post-class stage is the more ignored one, okay? But the pre-class stage, okay, you can do good things about it, okay? So I'd like to draw two examples right here, okay? The first one is the team scavenger hunt, okay? It requires certain preparation, okay? But if you prepare well, okay, the outcome is equally fruitful. Okay, so in a team scavenger hunt, okay, you create teams, okay, to introduce a new topic and help them to build positive relationships and get engaged during the class, and you need to guide them hands-on. Okay, so how to do it? Okay, better form a group of 4 to 6, not too many. Okay, you give them descriptions of the game and explain the purpose. Give them a team a previously developed list of items, and most importantly, award the winning team with the prize for completion of the activities. Let's try to make it more concrete with an example. Okay, introductory mathematics. Okay, so in this game, okay, the students will be given a list of geometric items, okay, and they are asked to find example of a square, a rectangle, or parallelogram on campus. Okay, so they need to find real Monty. Okay. So each group needs to visit the physical space and take a picture with the phone. Okay, through the end of the sessions, they reassemble and share what they found and pick out the winning team. So this is one way of doing the scavenger hunt. Okay. For larger classes, I would strongly recommend you to fetch some TAs to help with explaining the details on the game rules with your students. Another possible way is to do jigsaw. I believe Paul and Teresa has more expertise in doing jigsaw than I do. Okay? But nonetheless, it's a collaborative game in which students can learn from each other, okay, about a given topic and learn by teaching. So the purpose would be to develop a creative and effective way of learning through teaching others, okay, and motivate them to share with the entire class. Okay. So to start with, you might want to present on a very wide topic like how fintech would disrupt the financial market. And then you form the groups by different topics, like you have a group on blockchain, you have another group on P2P, payment, okay, so on and so forth. So students would only learn a part of the puzzle, okay, but together they will form a larger picture of how, okay, in many different ways, fintech can disrupt the financial market, okay, as a whole. Okay. So in this game, they will work in this expert group to develop the knowledge about the topic, and then they'll move to a new jigsaw group, okay, in which each student's master in different topics will share their previously learned knowledge. Okay. Let's take a quick look of this video about what jigsaw learning is. hope you get the idea from the video. But a caution on doing jigsaw. Okay? In large classes, you're going to need more TAs and helpers than other types of activities. And because of the nature of the reiterative nature of the jigsaw exercise, time is of utmost importance. If you want to do jigsaw properly, my humble projection is that you need at least 20 to 30 minutes to get it done right. Okay? That's the minimum. Okay? If you can commit that much time into doing it, then consider. Okay? Otherwise, you might consider other more convenient activities that you can complete in a shorter time span. Okay. In-class activities. Okay. In-class activities is all about generating excitement, okay, in the flipped classroom process, that students can pay more attention or generate more interest to highlight the intrinsic motivation part of learning, okay, during the in-class session. Okay. So let's highlight two activities, possible activities for you to consider. Okay. Quizzo, very simple. Quiz and bingo. Okay. Anyone got the idea about what a bingo game is? Okay. You cross the line. Okay. You get all 5 numbers. Okay. That forms, okay, a diagonal, a horizontal line or vertical line. Okay. And then you win the game. Okay. So Quizzo basically is a bingo. Okay. But you get the points or you get the stamp by answering the correct question. Okay. And you can do it in group as well. So similarly, you form small groups. That is more easy to manage. Okay. And then you would disseminate a Quizzo packet, okay, with a game sheet, an answer sheet, and chips. Okay. And then they choose a question, okay, from the list and ask all students to discuss about it. Okay. And then groups with the correct places, okay, correct answers would get to put their chips on the board. Okay. And then you compete with time and other teammates to win the game. Okay. And then the game would continue until one of the teams scores 5 sequential spaces. Okay. So this is a fun way of engaging students. Okay. With a quiz game being converted into the format of a bingo game. I guess I'll skip this video on bingo because we are rather short on the time. Okay, but we have the link. You might want to catch up with the how-to later on. Okay, when you revisit this PowerPoint that we'll be sharing with you. Another very intense and engaging way of doing in-class activities in a critical classroom context is to do role play. Okay? And we couldn't find a more fitting example of our own department, the Department of Applied Social Sciences. We train students in social policy, administration, applied psychology, and the bread and butter of our department, we do training on social work students. Okay? And individual communication skills is one integral part of the social work education. And therefore, role play is a very effective and powerful way of engaging students in the learning process. Okay? So, in this case, we create a scenario and ask students to be the character of a specific scenario, and then ask them to apply the knowledge and skills. In our case, that would be individual counseling skills, okay, and act from an assigned perspective. So let's jump into the example right here. Hopefully I got the role play part cued right at this, so you'll be only seeing a couple seconds of how our students actually engage in the role play process.
Role play as after classroom make simple editing, including adding Chinese subtitle.
So let me do some caption on the video. Okay, it's a very long video. these are our own students, APSS social work students. And in each class, they flip some of the materials, they prepare for the lectures on communication skills beforehand. And in class, rather than listening to lectures on communication skills, they do it by themselves. So one of them will play the role of the worker, the other will play the role of the client. Okay? In more sensitive scenarios, we'll have teachers playing NGO supervisors or the clients. Okay? So they get to do the role play, and the entire role play was videotaped. And the more interesting part is, apart from the role play itself, they get to peer evaluate others' role play in the next lesson. Okay? So it's a very deep reflective process in which they learn to play the part of both the worker and the client, and they also learn how to critique from the others, okay, about skills of how to do the individual skills right, okay, in the role play setting. That's in a nutshell. So the post-class activities perhaps will be one of the most undermined areas that we often ignore in the flipped classroom cycle. We can engage students for deeper learning and consolidate their learning after the class. So what can we do? Dialogue journals and note-taking pair are two possible ways of consolidating the materials after the class. So let's try to get into the concept of dialogue journal. The next page should be there. Okay. So basically, you do a side-by-side comparison. Okay. First, you ask the students to reflect on a certain reading, or to reflect on a certain lecture, okay, or to reflect on a certain activity. If you're doing service learning, you might do reflective journal on an outing, on the surface. Okay. If you're doing a classroom-based lecture or video lecture through SPOC, you can ask students to reflect on those learning activities. Okay. And then two students will form the pair, and they will reflect side by side, and then they get to exchange their journals and comment on each other. So these are some of the very handy examples of expanding the students' reflection and learning through easy help of pairing. A very similar trick is the note-taking pairs. So basically, you ask students to do the notes by themselves, and then they form a pair of two dyadic pairs, and based on the notes that they have prepared, one partner will summarize the others. So I'll summarize one chunk of your notes for section 1, and then you summarize and make notes of the notes you made on section 2. We take turn and we take each other place. And then we let the students to compare the notes and share the notes and generate more synergy between their learning. So these are some of the examples in which you can engage students before the class, during the class, and after the class. And better still, I'll show you one bonus video where you can actually engage students outside the class. So let's take a look at what do we mean by taking it outside the class. Drive them out of the class room. If we have the time, I think we can leave this question open, okay, in the background. So you may pitch in your opinion and comments and reflections, okay, anytime from now to the end of the session. So, we would like to know what are some of the conceived or perceived challenges and barriers in implementing collaborative learning activities in class for the flipped classroom approach. And last but not the least, we still have a very full roster of events to come. We are in a 3-year project, so stay tuned to our upcoming activities. And you might find some of the review by Bishop and Loiser, and perhaps the one by ABC Kura, okay, very interesting. Okay? And most, if not all, of the activities that we propose actually comes from the Berkeley Handbook of Collaborative Learning Techniques, which is very handy resources to start with. So Paul told me, okay, always advertise our project, and I out competing with the larger QR code right here. Okay, that leads to the Flipped Classroom project webpage. You'll find registration information and upcoming events information over there too. Okay. I guess I'm out. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Anyone have questions for Kevin? Okay, now thank you, Kevin, once again for your sharing. The last talk will be delivered by Dr. Kalun Chen from Education University of Hong Kong. Dr. Chen will provide a framework and some instruments for teachers to evaluate their flipped class. Dr. Chen, please.
Good afternoon, colleagues. This is my presentation. Okay, this is my presentation for the last, but actually it fit the flipped classroom approach. Okay, because I told you in the evaluation, the flipped strategy is how to prepare flipped classroom should be the title. Okay, yeah, you flip it, but you know you reverse the process. Now let me summarize a little on what happens. This is our project. The name, the title is how to use the flipped classroom approach in Hong Kong higher education for enhanced learning outcome. So that's important. That's important. Let me summarize a little about the definition of flipped classroom. This is our website. Okay, an interesting one. Okay, attractive. And together with all the information of the group, for us, okay, my name Kalun is there. I'm in charge of the evaluation, but actually it's for the preparation. Right? So let's start. The evaluation process actually involve you have to have a very clear definition to work with the flipped classroom. Otherwise, okay, it can be backwards. All right. So you have to establish the evaluation framework. Basically, the preparation framework that you need. Okay, and then you have to develop the corresponding instruments. Okay, for our evaluation purpose. But for you, you can take it as a reference. Okay, for you to do the implementation. Okay, that could be useful. Now, interview protocol, things like that. Now, for the defining of the flipped classroom, let me wrap up for those. Okay, Bloom's taxonomy is everybody understand it. Okay, the classical, so-called classical, okay, teaching is like that. Okay, you just teacher can just deliver the very basic mode of learning. Okay, once we have that, now we will say, okay, new material is introduced, okay, to flip that. But why we can, or how, why we can flip it, this is important. Okay, this is because the technology changed. Okay, this is important. So I would say, okay, technology comes into play in the following. We can better understand by learning thing. We have, okay, because of the technology, we have the individual learning space. It's much larger than before. Okay, you can access the internet and know everything. Everybody says, okay, you can create a bump, okay, if you like, okay, by reading all the things on the internet. Okay, once you have this space, okay, it's extended. Okay, the group learning space, which we do the classical, okay, classroom instructional approach. can be used as the following. Okay, teacher-centered learning theory is explicit instruction method is now flipping, okay, to the other side. So instead we try to plan for kind of attractive activities, okay, for the learners. Okay, that's how we do the flipped classroom. So in a work, okay, we define it as flipped classroom is a pedagogic approach in which direct instruction moves from the group learning space to the individual learning space. Okay, so and for the group learning space, right now is transformed into this is evaluation criteria. Dynamic, interactive learning environment where educators guide students as they apply concepts and engage creatively in the subject matters. All right, so this is a a very easy, wide spectrum, adaptable, framework we propose, to the project. Now, once we have this, you ask for the advantage, but not until you have a very good framework to monitor. All right, you always ask, what are the outcomes? Your senior management will ask you this, but for you, you have to plan a little bit, before go ahead to implement. So, everybody, sorry, everybody knows it's transformed, from teacher-centered pedagogy to student-centered pedagogy. But I would say, you have to, for the planning or for the evaluation, you have to focus on instructional design of flipped classroom. Why? Flipped or not flipped? What are the differences? That's really very important. So the evaluation framework is the rationale and the overall planning of the implemented flipped classroom approach. All right. Now you have seen, many good practice shared by Kelvin, Teresa, and all the teams of Professor Lam, on how to encourage, to encourage students to have incentive to participate on that. But this is important. So not without this kind of cooperation, you have a good section pre-class, in-class, post-class, and assessment activities. You have to align that. That's the framework. But technology is coming to play. So you need to ask for the learning management system. So supported by what kind of learning they are, whether they are effective, it can be used by everybody, accessibility, that's important. Now, not the last but not least, you have to review it constantly because it's ever-changing process. You play it once and then you review it and then try to make better improvements. So the second one is we run a course, we try to learn something. We try to make our students learn something, right? So you ask the learning outcome of the students. So what are they? Now, please, actually that should be the first, define clear learning outcomes. Somebody might disagree with me that you don't have learning outcome. You have learning objectives. I don't care. That means you have motivation to engage students, to go for their own good. And then now the Bloom's taxonomy comes into play. Once you agree, the flipped classroom is designed along this, so you ask pre-class, you should engage students to remember, to understand. This is the main purpose. And the second one is in-class, as what Kelvin has suggested, you have to make students at the role play and what they are supposed to know, application and analysis. All right? So this fits with the Bloom's taxonomy. So in the evaluation process, we are going to examine whether you are doing a good job in doing that kind of section or not. I just give a framework. The details has to be immersed or accumulate with good practices. It comes in. This is kind of a community learning mode. Now, the last one, suitable post-class learning. This is very important. I think after the implementation or trial in my university, everybody think this is the part they missed. They don't have a kind of resourceful, design on promoting students, as follow-up learning. You try to make them creative. How? You have to provide resources. So writing journal, this is a good way. So I learned something. So I can ask my student, after they have to do full experience to make the practical teaching in a local school, because I'm from the education university. But I never use kind of things to say, ask students to share about their learning in teaching. Okay, how they can improve. Okay, so I learned a good trick from Kevin. Okay, thanks. So everybody learns from this kind of communication. All right, now interact between teacher and student in the flipped classroom stand to achieve the learning outcome. This is important. Okay, this is how we engage. But the last one is you will see in the role play, students learn how to do a scenario to communicate, so their communication skills or kind of language skill will be improved. This is kind of learning outcome called generic outcome will be improved. So you have to monitor for that to make your flipped classroom to be a fair environment. Okay. Now, feedback satisfaction. This part is important. How to engage students. All right. So student satisfaction and teacher satisfaction. But I would think student engagement, changing the attitude before, during, and after. Okay. Engaging in the self-learning mode. They are different. They are different. They can be different. Okay. They be positive or not negative, but they can engage. That's a different sort. And also, engage in the real-life application, just what Kevin showed us in the last video, and engage in the real-life applications. So they are very important, aspects of this satisfaction bingo. But the last one, I would say, is the most important is, after the flipped classroom approach, will your student think this is a more effective approach than the traditional one? Will they use it in their learning, or the teachers will do that continuously? Okay, this is important. So go into the evaluation framework. All right. So for this one, you want to take the advantage. You have the good monitoring system. So the last one is very fast. Okay, constant review. Actually, that comes into a systematic review. Okay, for that, and then you have to embed checkpoints to monitor the free teaching. Okay, collect and respond to the feedback from students. You will do that. Right? But the most important thing is the follow-up. The follow-up is, follow-up on the feedback from students to cater, teaching and learning needs. This is kind of evaluation process that we have to go through. Finally, you rely on the technology. So, reliability and stability of a learning management system. But later on, that concept can be changed. So I make it, kind of flexible terms. You can replace it later if technology has a new concept on defining terms. All right. So the last one is your university has its own QA/QE system. You have to make it align with that. Okay. Don't miss this part. Okay. So this is our, I would say, short but rather comprehensive, framework in evaluation of the making the evaluation of the flipped classroom project. But how to do that? You say, I have no idea. The big idea comes into, the dissemination of the instrument and finding. I guess we have rubrics. Rubrics learning right now is kind of a new mode of learning. You tell the student, I give you the rubrics. That means the report. I will later on check on this. Then your student will have a concrete idea to work for better grades. This is important. So now I fit in the classroom and telling you guys, I give you the rubric first. Then you later on, or you can create your own rubrics. Then your student know better on how to perform under the flipped approach of your classes. That's what I would like to share with you guys. Last one is they will come. They will be uploaded on the website. Visit more of our websites. For kind of fresh ideas. But of course, at the same time, you guys can contribute. I will most appreciate. Or the whole team will appreciate your contribution as well. So I think I better stop there. All right. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. Do you have any questions for Dr. Chen?
their question will follow up. Okay, so we are waiting, okay, for another time to give a better responses when we have more time. Okay. Thanks, guys. Okay.
Thank you. So it's almost the end of the workshop. May I invite Professor Paul Lam again to make a few closing remarks?
Not much. Sorry for the extended workshop. Now it is year 6. So only a few words just to mention that even though it is the last workshop of this series, that we are going to have another cycle very soon. Okay? And another cycle means new speakers. And even if you see us again, we will talk about something new. We are constantly upgrading our resources, knowledge resources to give you some new things next time. So stay tuned, go to our website, or if you don't mind, we will send you emails informing you about our new events in the coming cycle. And lastly, on behalf of our project team members, thank you very much for staying here up to now. Hope you have a nice free classroom in the future. Okay, if you want more support, contact us.